Hi, my name is Jean, and I'm back with 5 more book recommendations for you as part of the Malden Public Library's ongoing series, 5 and 5, in which we recommend 5 books in 5 minutes. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 5 African American poetry anthologies. When Amanda Gorman read her poem, The Hill We Climb, at the presidential inauguration a few weeks ago, she exemplified poetry's power to move our hearts and minds to inspire a better world. These 5 books are full of inspiration, beauty, power, and agents of history. You can borrow these books from the library by clicking the link to our catalog below. If you enjoy this video, please like it and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. African American poetry has a rich, storied history. The comprehensive anthology, African American Poetry, 250 Years of Struggle and Song, released late last year, was edited by poet Kevin Young, who is also the director of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. The book begins with Phyllis Wheatley and journeys us through Black history in America. Young has included famous writers like Amiri Baraka, Paul Laurence Dunbar, and Claudia Rankine, but also makes sure to include lesser-known women and LGBTQ voices, some of whom who were not published during their lifetimes. Young also weaves music throughout the book, which is intertwined with African American poetry and history. And the index is organized by poet, title, and first lines. So when you can't remember a poem's title or author, but know how it begins, this book will help you find it. This is a book that should be in every home. Furious Flower, Seeding the Future of African American Poetry, is an anthology of contemporary African American poetry. It was published by the Furious Flower Poetry Center, the first academic center for Black poetry in the United States. The book is arranged into 6 sections: Collective Power, Black Aesthetics, Pan-African Poetics, Renovation, Writing the Body, and the Collective. It is designed this way to examine contemporary poetry and pose the question, what is the future of Black poetry? To help answer this question, each section is introduced by an essay, with the final section being predominantly essays. With the inclusion of both famous and lesser-known contemporary Black poets, this book is a great way to find your next favorite poet. My next recommendation is Black Girl Magic, the 2nd volume in the excellent Breakbeat Poets series. Edited by 3 Black women, all the poems are also written by Black women, with an introduction by the poet Patricia Smith. The poet is organized by sections whose titles are taken from famous writers including Toni Morrison and Zora Neale Hurston. They are Collector of Me, I'm Black, Sharpening My Oyster Knife, Duty to Fight, All the Events That Happened to You, Wrong Is Not My Name, A New Person, Forever Trying, and Something Has Tried to Kill Me and Has Failed. The book portrays many experiences, spiritualities, and cadences, but expresses power in the unity of being Black and a woman. This anthology is not an overview so much as a celebration that jumps off the page into your life. Of Poetry and Protest, From Emmett Till to Trayvon Martin, is not only an anthology of protest poetry, it is a protest in and of itself. One of the book's editors, Michael Warr, writes in his introduction of what it was like to compile this book in 2015 as he was inundated by the news of the murders of Black people by police. This book only includes poets who are living, so the poetry was written predominantly from the 1960s civil rights movement through today. Each entry includes a short essay by the poet, a lovely portrait, and their poems. This book feels very personal and offers us insight into the poet's motivations for writing. Natasha Trethewey writes, I write because I cannot stand by and say nothing, because I strive to make sense of the world I've been given, because the soul sings for justice and the song is poetry. Black Nature, 4 Centuries of African American Nature Poetry, fills a gaping hole in the canon of American natural poetry. While it is common to think of nature poetry as beautiful reflections on the landscape, this collection shows us it is much more complicated, especially in consideration of African American history. Most of the poets included here can also be found in at least one of the other collections I've talked about today. In the poems the editor, Camille T. Dungy, has selected, nature might be a forest, a field, a city garden, a bird song, a pet, a pest, or a flood. This collection spans slavery, the Reconstruction, the Harlem Renaissance, the Black arts movement, and ends with the early 21st century. The poems show how African Americans' relationship with nature has changed throughout history and continues to change, including the current struggle for environmental justice. I recommend this book for all nature poetry lovers and those who want to see the world more clearly. Thank you for joining me for today's 5 and 5. You can find these books and many more books by Black poets through the link in the description. You can find more book recommendations on our YouTube channel or call the library and just ask us.